Alright guys, I'm gonna be showing you the best settings including in-game settings, config, and NVIDIA control panel. If you like the video, drop a like and a sub. I'm trying to get this channel going. Alright, so we're gonna basically start with the config settings. And to get to the config, you type documents in the search bar. Open up documents, and here you have Call of Duty players. And then you go to options, COD CST. Alright, now that we have this config open, there's a bunch of settings here that actually really help the performance. And we're gonna start off with renderer worker count. Basically, you have to set this to your CPU cores. And how you check for CPU cores, you go into task manager, performance, and then at CPU you'll see cores right here. Not logical processors, not logical cores, whatever, just your total maximum cores. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna press Ctrl F. We're gonna type in blood. Over here we're gonna get more settings. It's gonna be show blood effects and limit blood effects. Now put this to false, and limit blood effects we're gonna put it to true. Now this might help with FPS, but it helps with visibility the most because you know what you're shooting at. Or there's an enemy behind an enemy, you don't get all those blood effects. You know, it just clutters less of the screen. All right, now you're gonna press Ctrl F again and type in texture. You can mess around with these settings, but we usually have texture quality set to high, which means it's on 1. Like the higher it is, the lower the quality. So if you really have a bad PC, you should set it on 2 or 3. Although I might not recommend that. I haven't tested it myself, but it probably looks very bad. Texture filtering. This one's really important because a lot of people set this to texture filter linear. So all you want to do is just copy and paste this in here. And it's going to be good. But I mean, if you have a bit better PC, I suggest using some of the above ones. It doesn't really affect FPS that much. I use texture filter anisotropic 8x. So that basically translates to normal setting in game. Next, make sure tessellation is off, less clutter on the screen. Corpse's culling threshold, I like to put that on 0.5. And below that we have Catmull Clark, I put that on 0. And we're gonna scroll a little bit down where it says quality level of shadows. Now yours should be set to medium or to high. What you want to do is go to low over here and just copy and paste it. It's gonna make the shadows worse, but shadows are an FPS hog, so you want to put that as low as possible. Then you're gonna scroll a little bit more down and you have reflection probe relighting. You're gonna put that on 1. Again, this is something for reflections. It doesn't really matter in multiplayer, and depending on the map it might improve your FPS significantly, so put that on 1. You press Ctrl F again and you're gonna type in bar. It's gonna make it to the resizable bar. GPU upload heaps, they should be set to true. You should set it to false. Apparently there's a bug within the game right now that makes worse 1% lows when you're using true. This is supposed to make your FPS better, but right now I mean I guess it's bugged. And bonus tip, this heavily fixes input delay. I don't know why, but this really helped with my mouse input. That's a problem right now in Call of Duty, so change that. And below that we have enable velocity based blur. You just set that to false, have it on true. You know, you don't want any blur on your screen or anything. And that's basically it for the config file. You're just gonna click save and that's it. All right, next we're gonna go to the NVIDIA control panel settings. Now I'm using advanced 3D image settings. You can use for performance, but that won't really make much of a difference if you don't change it yourselves. So what I personally do here is I leave everything on normal. A lot of people tell you to put power management mode on, prefer maximum performance, but all this does is not give your GPU any rest, and it always runs at full power, which isn't good for your GPU. Basically all I changed here is set texture filter and I put it to high performance, and then I put trilinear optimization on and threaded optimization on. Now this is going to help with your CPU performance if you have a weaker CPU. It says here that it takes advantage of multiple CPUs in the game. Everything else I left unchanged. Is basically, a lot of people put vertical sync off, but I mean, you should just let the game do its thing when you turn it off. You don't want to mess around with settings in NVIDIA too much. Now here's a bonus tip. If you guys want better visibility in game, make it more colorful, make it more vibrant, bright. But adjust desktop color settings and scroll down to digital vibrance. Now I set that to 80 plus. You can set it to 90, 100, whatever you want. Test it out. Everybody has a different monitor, but it's gonna make everything so much more colorful. It's gonna be less dull, it's gonna be less grayed out. All the other settings over here I basically have default. Some people say use full screen mode and perform scaling on GPU, but I don't see a need for that. I have a G-Sync use monitor, so I have my G-Sync turned on. I have a 165 Hz monitor, and yeah, that should be it. So now we're gonna go check the in-game settings. So display mode, you're gonna want to keep this on full screen exclusive at all times, just to get the least amount of input lag, smoothest FPS, everything. Don't use these two. You can try. It's probably different on every setup, but personal recommendation, full screen exclusive. Screen refresh rate, keep it to the highest. If you put it on auto, it's probably gonna automatically put it to the highest, but if you don't have it on the highest, you definitely should put it on the highest. Display resolution, I mean, if you have a 4K monitor, if you have a 1440p monitor, you know, everybody has a different setup, so usually keep it on the highest here. aspect ratio, it's gonna be set to automatic. It's probably what it should be. VSync, 100% turn off. Don't put it in the menus, gameplay, nothing. VSync just gives you an incredible amount of input lag. Might make the game look smoother, but you'll just have more input lag and the mouse will not be as responsive. Turn it off. Custom frame rate limit. Now this depends on the setup again. I used to have a 60 Hz monitor and I had all the games basically limited to 60 FPS because my CPU usage would go down significantly. I don't want my CPU usage to be at 100 if I have a 60 Hz monitor, you know, but if you have a 144 Hz, then you might want to put it to 144, 145, whatever the case may be. You can type your own. Menu custom frame rate limit. Again, some people have this to limited, some people don't have it limited, you know, it all depends on your setup. So I have it at 60. It's just because when I'm in the menus, you know, so the GPU clock goes down a little bit, the GPU temperatures go down, because if I have it unlimited, basically get more FPS in the menus, which ultimately means more GPU usage and the GPU temps go up, you know what I mean? Look, it's just steadily going up. We're gonna put that at 60. Brightness, again, personal preference. I have no idea what your monitor is, but for mine 60 is fine. All right, NVIDIA reflex low latency. If you have an NVIDIA card, you will most likely have this setting. If your card is not from 1994, you have to have it on 100%. You should. Alright, but on plus boost. I only recommend on plus boost if your GPU usage is at 99% all the time, because this actually helps with response times. But if your GPU is not at 99%, then keep this on. And this goes for all games, not just Call of Duty. If your GPU usage is 99, on plus boost. If it's not on, helps either way. I can maybe feel it, maybe it's placebo, I don't know. Keep it on. Quality settings. I'm gonna go over each setting and explain it a little bit. But for render resolution, if you have a low PC, turn it down to about 80, 70, 60 or something. See if your FPS gets increased. Again, man, I'm gonna use the word personal preference a lot in this video. It's just because everybody has a different setup. Any upscaler that I use, for example, it doesn't make a difference because my CPU is weaker than my GPU, so I'm basically limited. Any setting that I set here is not gonna change my FPS personally because my GPU is so much stronger than my CPU that my CPU can't pump out more frames no matter what I set here, you know? If you have an NVIDIA card, try to use DLSS and then, you know, just go down from performance to balance to quality. Me personally, right now, I don't know if it's because of the beta, quality DLSS looks garbage. I don't use that at all. A couple of my friends use FSR1. They have 1660 supers or something, and that's what gives them better performance. So it has between FSR 1.0 and 2.1. You can use it if you have an NVIDIA card. Now, anti-aliasing, you can try Filmic. It doesn't really matter. I just use the normal one. And now the quality, set to low. Variable rate shading. I have tested this setting. I had to restart my game 17 times to go from the Call of Duty HQ back in game because you have to do it in order to access the beta, blah blah blah. It helps. If you have a worse PC, it helps with FPS. Maybe 5 FPS, I saw a difference. Details and textures. Now listen, I'm not gonna be that guy that says that setting anything to normal or high is gonna increase FPS, because that's just not the case. The lower you set your settings, the higher your FPS will be. That's just how it is. That's how it works. But what people don't really understand is setting these settings higher is not going to give you all that much more visibility. If you're, for example, on a 180p monitor, if you're on 1440p, if you're on 4K, it's probably gonna make a difference, but I'm not. So setting this to normal might help a little bit. It's gonna bring your FPS down. So it's either you want the game to look a little bit better, or if you want to have more FPS, that's up to you. From my personal experience on 180p, I cannot see much of a difference with these settings. So play around with it. I like to keep this on low, not very low, because that's too bad. Depth of field off. Depth of field basically means when you're aiming, because the background is blurred out. Detail quality low. I have everything on the lowest setting possible, basically. On-demand texture streaming has to be off. We're gonna change the visibility more with the color settings that I'm gonna show later. So if you wanna copy these settings, just copy them. I don't want to go through all of them. There's other videos covering this, but I basically have everything on the lowest. Shadow quality, tessellation off. Now terrain memory, you can keep this on max. It just allocates more memory to the terrain, which basically means you're gonna be able to see terrain further away. You can mess with this. I keep it on max, and it should be on max for when the new Warzone comes out, or the new Warzone update, whatever. Yeah. Field of view, personal preference. I keep mine on 110, put it on 120. You can put it on weapon field of view wide. I keep both on wide. I think the weapons look smaller. World motion blur, turn that off. 100%. Weapon motion blur off. That just messes you up. up. There was a bug in Modern Warfare 2 where if you turned weapon motion blur on, your stutters would go away, and that actually worked for me because I had an AMD card before the 3060 Ti. So film grain, turn that all the way off. First person camera movement, put that to least. You don't want your vision shaking when you're running around and stuff. Whenever the flashbang, it basically means you have a black screen when you get flashbang. Personal preference. All right, now for what helped me with visibility the most in Modern Warfare 2 that works perfectly on Modern Warfare 3 is the color customization settings. So go on the interface setting, color customization, and they changed it a little bit in this game, but at the bottom you have the color filter. So what this does, it is basically changes colors in the game. Put it on none, it's going to be different. If you put it on 1, you can see the menus are already different. It's going to be like that in game. So it's, again, it's personal preference. You got to test it out, see what works best for you. Me personally, put it on filter 2, color filter target both, and I put it on 90. The world is the gameplay, interface, the menus, and yeah, just get more color out of this. And yeah, that was it. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, comment your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.